Now, when living in the desert, you wouldn't think there's access to a lot of water and water sports and activities, right? Wrong. And this city actually has close proximity to some serious, and I mean serious, water sports and activities that rival any place across America with big lakes, and that is Peoria, Arizona. So what does it cost to live in an area that's close proximity to water sports and water activities, but still has the same climate and the same topography and geography as the desert and every other place that's in the Phoenix area? Good question. That's a mouthful, and we're going to cover it on this video, guys. Peoria, Arizona is a special place located in the Northwest Valley. Now, if you look at the map right here, you can see exactly where it's located. In the Northwest Valley, you can see the boundaries of the city itself, and you can see just to the north of it is Lake Pleasant, which is a huge lake. It is one of the largest lakes for recreation and boating and water activities for anyone here in the desert. Now, there are several options when it comes to that, but this is a big one, especially on the West Valley. But before we dive into the specific categories of the cost of living and what it takes to actually financially afford to live in Peoria, Arizona, but first, if you don't mind, reach out to us below at our contact information, as we'd love to have a conversation one-on-one with you via email or text or call. We have people reaching out to us across the entire country on a daily basis, and we love it. I'm passionate about it. Our team is passionate about helping people be more educated on the entire Phoenix area, and specifically Peoria, as this video is about that beautiful suburb. So feel free to reach out and check out our Google reviews right here. We have over 440 5-star reviews from past clients who've already worked with us. So take their word for it if you don't mind. So reach out to them if you don't mind, and let's have a conversation when you have a free moment. So Peoria currently has a population over 192,000 people. That's a lot. Now you have the Phoenix area, which has about 5 million people in it. So Peoria is a good sized suburb and growing, with room and land to actually grow a lot more. So it is an up and coming suburb, and arguably one of the nicest suburbs, especially on the West Valley of the Phoenix area. Now, I think Peoria lands in the top 10 of anyone's ratings when it comes to a top 10 suburb in the Phoenix area, because believe it or not, there are a lot of suburbs to choose from, and Peoria definitely is in my top 10 and probably most people's top 10 to take a peek at and consider if you're looking to move up, move down, or relocate from out of state. Now, we all know that housing makes up the biggest cost of living score when it comes to knowing what it costs to live in a certain city, but we're going to hold down that for a second. Stay tuned to the end. We're going to give you the final score overall of where Peoria lands in comparison to other cities in Phoenix, and of course the state, and of course the country as well, because if you're watching this video, you may be looking at other cities in other states across America as well. We know that. So whether or not this is for you, we're here to be an educational resource so you can make the best decision, whether it's here or somewhere else. So let's first jump into healthcare, guys. You don't have anything if you don't have your health. So is it expensive or least expensive compared to other places across America? Well, good news, you're in luck. It comes in at 93 with a average score across America at 100. So it is well below the cost across America for healthcare, and the access is great. There's a major hospital located right there in the Peoria area, and other medical providers scattered throughout the area that you can get to easily. And what's great is you have the 303 loop that runs through Peoria, as well as the 101 loop just inside of it, kind of an inner belt compared to an outer belt, if you will. Now, if you look at the map right here, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So getting around to where you need to go, especially when it comes to healthcare, and sometimes these healthcare issues are time sensitive, and so getting around where you need to go is a big deal, and Peoria allows for that. Now, speaking of transportation, you can see with that 101 loop system and the 303 loop system, you can get around Peoria fairly easy from the north side down to the south and the west side of Peoria, because it does extend a lot from south to north. There is a lot of space and mileage there that Peoria could be. So now, even though transportation is fairly easy in Peoria right now, getting to most places, especially when it comes to going east to west, the rating is 120 over 100. Again, why? Because it's more expensive. There are no public transportation options in Peoria for the most part. Now, you have the basic ones, like you have a city bus and you have certain things like that, but in terms of a light rail or a train or a subway, it just doesn't happen. So because it's so spread out, you're looking at Ubering, Lyft, that sort of thing. And so it would be quite expensive to continue to transport like that. So you have to have some type of vehicle. So that's why the transportation cost is at 120, where the national average is at 100. Now in the state of Arizona, the state comes in at 107 compared to 100 compared to all the other states. Again, because the lack of public transportation like most other cities have. So now that we've established you have to have a car for the most part to get around and live life, at least somewhat conveniently in Peoria, where are you gonna go, or how are you gonna get to the grocery store or the restaurants or places like that to get your food costs? Now the food cost is actually gonna be a little bit lower than the national average, which is great. It comes in at 98, where the national is at 100. Now 98, I know 98 seems great, but again, food costs overall are just skyrocketing due to inflation primarily. So 98 is great actually because you are below the national average. So at least when it goes to eating out and getting your groceries, you're not gonna be breaking the bank. Now, when it comes to eating out, Peoria, the food scene is not the best. There are great restaurants, the chain restaurants and places like that you can go to, but when it comes to specialized food concepts or ethnicity food, Peoria doesn't have a lot to choose from for that. So that's why you're gonna potentially have food costs be a little lower from that standpoint, because you don't have these expensive kind of exotic or unique restaurants that are gonna charge a little more for that experience and that food. You don't have that in Peoria, therefore that's one of the reasons why the food cost is lower. So if you're okay not having those experiences, then you're gonna be great living in Peoria. Now you can always go get those experiences by driving outside of Peoria into Phoenix or Scottsdale. But again, when you do that, the food costs will actually go up when it comes to eating out. But despite those lack of unique food choices or options, Peoria has an amazing amount of people that do want to actually move into Peoria. Again, the outdoor lifestyle is a huge one in Peoria, and because this population growth is happening in Peoria, you have housing costs that are going up. Right now, Peoria comes in at 133, where the national average is 100 when it comes to cost of living for housing specifically. Again, because over the last 2 years, 3 years post-COVID, Peoria has exploded when it comes to the housing costs. And they are building homes out there because Peoria has a lot of land, which is great. But because build costs haven't come down dramatically yet, they've come down a little bit, it does take time to build a house as well. So they can't deliver that oversupply of homes that fast. And there are more people moving to Peoria right now than how fast they can build. And so even though you have a lot of tract home builders in Peoria offering large communities and a lot of lots and options when it comes to new home construction, it's going to take some time for that to catch up. That median home cost comes in at $540,000 for a home if you're going to buy one in Peoria. So again, it's above the national average, which comes in far less than $540,000. So you're going to pay for living in Peoria and having that outdoor lifestyle for the most part. But again, a lot of people are choosing to do so because the upside, the benefits of paying that extra money, if you can afford it, are great. And when it comes to renting, if you want a 3-bedroom place, you're looking at about $2,800 on average per month, and a 4-bedroom place, about $3,200 on average per month. But if you want to go down to the cheapest option, which is a studio type place in Peoria, you're looking around $1,550 a month. So again, Peoria has that higher cost of living. But typically you see the higher cost of living in areas that have more safety and lower crime, and that's one of these areas as well. Peoria currently comes in at a 16 score out of 100, with 100 being the worst and the most crime. So very safe place based on its geographical location. That really helps. Because it costs more to live there, you have more safety with the type of residents that live there and really value maybe a lower risk lifestyle, if you will. From that standpoint. And overall, it does have lower crime incidents per population of 100,000 than all of its counterparts in the Northwest Valley, except for one, and that is Surprise. So again, pretty safe place to live. And that's what drives a lot of the housing costs and cost of living to be a little more higher in a place like this. Now, when it comes to jobs, because you have to have those to sustain a good, healthy population base, right now, the unemployment rate is actually 4.1% in Peoria, which is lower than the national average of 4.3 currently. And the household income on average is $81,000 a year compared to the national average, which is $69,000 per year. So again, people are being paid more to live in Peoria, which makes sense because that's what kind of drives the housing costs. Now, the average income in Peoria for an individual currently sits around $45,000 a year, which is still a little bit higher than the US average, which is great. The average income for a household from Peoria is around $81,000 a year, which again is above that number for the US average. But I think those numbers are going to go up. And the reason why is because if you look at the map again, you can see that 303 loop up here. And at the top end of that 303 loop, as it goes to connect to the I-17, you have a lot of industrial buildings being built. Now, the main reason these are being built is because these are going to be suppliers that will rent this space to supply the $60+ billion project that is TSMC, the Taiwan Manufacturing Semiconductor Company that is building a, like I said, $60+ billion plant and a whole tech center around it in that North Phoenix area, just off the 303 loop and the I-17. And so this row of 303, that loop 303, is going to be known as the tech supplier industrial corridor of potentially the entire United States. It is incredible what's going on up there right now in terms of construction, and with that, high-paying jobs. So with that, more residential construction, probably a little bit higher real estate costs when it comes to housing over the next several years, and especially in the long term. So if I'm looking to invest in single-family housing of some sort, real estate, I'm going to be very bullish on the Peoria, North Peoria area, and of course the North Phoenix area where that TSMC plant is actually located. But that North Peoria area no one really talks about, and that's going to be a huge supply chain area for all the many suppliers that will have $1 million, maybe, I don't know, $1 billion contracts with TSMC to supply them with all their parts to make their fabs and their chips and all the semiconductors. So that's a big thing to keep an eye out for if maybe you're a real estate investor as well as just a homeowner looking to buy a house. So overall, this is the drum roll, right? When you take all these aspects for cost of living in this amazing suburb of Peoria, Arizona, you're looking at a ranking of 112 above the national average of 100. So again, it is increasing every single year because of all the positives and benefits that Peoria has. Now, if we're talking Peoria, Illinois, no offense to Peoria, Illinois, you're probably not going to have the same conversation because you're not having this influx of population all flocking to Peoria, Illinois. You're having more people probably leave, is my guess. I'm not an expert on Peoria, Illinois, but I am an expert on Peoria, Arizona, and you're having a lot of people moving into Peoria, way more than leaving or outflux of the population leaving Peoria, Arizona, guys. So if you have any questions about this cost of living, where are the good hotspots for housing? Where are the cheap, the wealthy? Where are the condos? Do they have any condos in Peoria? Single family houses, the up and coming spots, all this stuff like the 303 Tech Corridor and more, call us. I know it's a lot. 480-660-5974. Reach out to us at the contact information below or check out our Instagram page right here. We're putting out daily content for your education and enjoyment. And guys, make sure you don't miss any more videos like this on different areas of the Phoenix Metro Valley. And go ahead and subscribe and like us. That will ensure you get all those push notifications right to your phone. Ensure you don't miss one of these informative videos in the future. And don't forget to call me.